like it's been through a war zone. Okay, we got a different view tonight. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I could go over there. No, Lucas has the TV. There's no news. There's no news in this house tonight. Hey, everybody. There is news. There's plenty of news, but we have not put the news on tonight because my father was here and he had controlled the TV. Okay, Lucas, could you put it a little bit lower? And can you actually open the windows like I asked Daniel? Okay, I think the most important bit of news is that as this whole thing is developing between Israel and Iran, which started just like 4 days ago. And by the way, the rockets, though deadly, are tapering off. Suddenly, we wake up this morning to this flurry of activity and all these clues and points and like here and like quotes here and there, whatever, that perhaps the U.S. is about to get involved. Now, all right, last night, right before I did the live, I was on a show, the Tamara Scott show, and I was the second guest on the show, and the first guest stayed on, and he's also like a Middle East analyst. He's from the Middle East. He's from Egypt. And he said that Israel needs America to finish the job. And Israel has been petitioning America. Now, by the way, then I was on a webinar today. And a lot of people were talking about, one of the questions was a great question. And I'm like, I don't know, because I didn't know it was a great question. It was, what were the ruses, the deceptions surrounding this whole attack from Iran, on Iran, that they were unprepared for it. So how did Israel build that perhaps deception around that there was this imminent attack and everybody was saying it, and then it was like maybe not. Even I said maybe not, by the way. But suddenly, one of the things that they said that some of the guests panelists on this webinar pointed out were they said that maybe the whole public disagreement between the U.S. and Iran was that it was to throw everybody off, that, Israel won't do it if the U.S. isn't backing them. So, and now suddenly Trump has just come out, like in the last 12 hours or so, just like full on saying, let me just read you some quotes from 1:42 a.m. our time. Iran should have signed the deal. I told them to sign. What a shame and waste of human life. Simply stated, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I said it over and over again. Everyone should immediately evacuate Tehran. Then he goes on to say, America first means many great things, including the fact that, all caps, from beginning to end, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. Make America great again. Okay. Next one. Further down, he shows a screenshot of a text he got from Mike Huckabee, who is a pastor, a politician, and currently the ambassador of the United States to Israel, in which he writes, Mr. President, God spared you in Butler, Pennsylvania, to be the most consequential president in a century, maybe ever. The decisions on your shoulders I would not want to be made by anyone else. You have many voices speaking to you, sir, but there is only one voice that matters, his voice. It's capital H. I am your appointed servant in this land, and I am available for you, but I do not try to get in your presence often because I trust your instincts. No president in my lifetime has been like yours, not since Truman. Oh my goodness, kids. Am I on still? People are calling me. Not since Truman in 1945. I don't reach out to persuade you, only to encourage you. Remember, this is Huckabee talking to President Trump. I believe that you will hear from heaven, and that voice is far more important than mine or anyone else's. You sent me to Israel to be your eyes and ears and voice, and to make sure our flag flies high above the embassy, which was, by the way, damaged by an Iranian missile. Not the embassy, the consulate. My job is to, he's okay. He can be in this. This is just my live. This is not, somebody else's webinar or interview that I dare not ruin on their TV show. This is just me. Let it all be ruined. Okay. Right. Okay. My job is to be the last one to leave. I will not abandon this post. Wow. That doesn't bode well for my parents trying to leave, American citizens trying to leave. Our flag will not come down. You did not seek this moment. This moment sought you. It is my honor to serve you. Wow. Everybody, man, this is like last letters, before the World War III, I don't know, declaration of war or whatever. Okay, then a little later on, Donald Trump again. I have not reached out to Iran for peace talks in any way, shape, or form. This is just more highly fabricated fake news. If they want to talk, they know how to reach me. They should have taken the deal that was on the table, would have saved a lot of lives. Okay, now we are at 6:56 p.m. my time, which, by the way, now it's 9. So let's say it's 7 o'clock and now it's 9. It's only 2 hours ago. Donald J. Trump. We now have complete and total control of the skies over Iran. I didn't know the U.S. did. I know Israel claims to. Iran has good sky trackers and other defensive equipment, and plenty of it, but it doesn't compare to American-made, conceived and manufactured in quotes stuff. Nobody does it better than the good old USA. Next, and this one, we know exactly where the so-called, in scare quotes, supreme leader is hiding. He is an easy target, but is safe there. We are not going to take him out, in parentheses, kill, at least not for now. Hold on. But we don't want missiles shot at civilians or American soldiers. Our patience is wearing thin. Thank you for your attention to this matter. And then 2 minutes later, all caps, unconditional surrender. What do you guys make of this? What is happening? Is it more of the ruse, or is this happening? Okay, now, again, one I didn't read in the middle because I saw G7 in Canada and France or whatever. He says, publicity-seeking President Emmanuel Macron of France mistakenly said that I left the G7 summit in Canada to go back to DC to work on a ceasefire. When I do this, I mean, it's written like this, between Israel and Iran. Wrong. He has no idea why I am now on my way to Washington, but it certainly has nothing to do with the ceasefire. Much bigger than that, whether purposely or not. Emmanuel always gets it wrong. Stay tuned. And here is another bit of news. This is so funny. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Trump considers U.S. strike on Iran orders situation room meeting for 1 p.m. Eastern time, which is an hour ago. So what's happening? Can you guys tell me what's happening? I will tell you what's happening here. Okay, here on the grounds in Jerusalem. Tourism Ministry says it will try to help tourists seeking to leave Israel via special flights. That is not what I'm here to talk about, though. Let's go. What is happening here? We have had pretty much in Jerusalem, no rocket barrages in, I can safely say, over 24 hours now, although we've had alerts. That's why I'm a little confused. Okay, so there's no rocket barrages. Here, there have been many, there have around the country, in the north, particularly in the center, but now very few rockets. And with that, it looks like definitely a weakening. However, it's also a strange change in strategy by Iran, which was before that. However, they were launching. Israel was able to detect the launches, and we got this like 20 to 30 minute in advance alert blaring on our phone saying like, alert, Iran launched a missile, go to a shelter or get near a shelter. And then maybe between 10 to 20 minutes later, there would be sirens, and then you would have to go to the shelter. And maybe not in your location would there be sirens. It's happened several times to Jerusalemites. Well, now apparently they're not launching from preset launching sites, probably because they've either been destroyed or Israel knows where they are, and so they've been targeted. This is what I've heard has been happening. They're mobile launching sites, so there is less of an opportunity for Israel to actually detect it or something. So I understand. I don't understand at all. Hold on, as alerts come in, I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, so no. So Israel says that that it will actually be able to achieve its objectives against Iran within a week, and they're still attacking over there. So we have fewer responses from the Iranian side. We have continued responses. We have calls to evacuate Tehran. Also, Israel has also issued orders to evacuate Tehran. We've seen in the last couple of days, like you can see the images and the videos of the traffic leaving the city, just glacial amounts of traffic and cars lined up trying to get out. Lack of fuel, things like that. We've also had reports from our friends who are in other countries that they are expecting people to come through the border. I think Pakistan did close its border with Iran. So this is what's happening all around. Now, I'm trying to see what else. There was so much to like. Today was actually, no, I have to say today was the least news of anything, actually, like in terms of like what's happening on the ground, like except for like I mean during the day. Now last night there was another deadly rocket attack. All of the people who have been killed so far in Israel, on the Israeli side, have been civilians, and I think we're up to a 24, or was that yesterday? I know there are a few more from overnight. I'm sorry. You see, this is how I don't have all of the numbers in front of me right now. But also, what the oil refinery had to be shut down, actually. So that was another, like they have actually struck some significant, or let's say not just residential targets, but also strategic targets. But again, tapered off. And today, since they're only using these mobile launchers, when they do send these missiles, they're only getting across like a dozen at a time, or fewer, or less, sometimes fewer than 10, or a total, as opposed to when it was in the beginning, they were sending like launching between 30 to 50. So I heard some really interesting things today in a webinar. Actually, should get that guy for an interview, because he was like, has military strategy. So I'm trying to see, he was talking about, because I had mentioned that I'm cautious about, Israel claiming and saying like, we've done this against Iran and it's so significant, and we've taken them out and we control the skies and everything. But okay, well, Iran is a sovereign nation of 90 million with its own military and, and paramilitary as well. And they also operate overseas. Compare that to, a guerrilla group like Hamas, which was thought to have only like 20,000, maybe 50,000 members, which operated in Gaza, and you still haven't defeated them. Or Hezbollah, which still has an arsenal, and it's again an Iranian-sponsored proxy that is not a state but is based in Lebanon. And again, they're not defeated. So, so I asked him, I was like, or I asked in general, but he responded. I said, so how can I be, how shouldn't we be cautious that these claims of control and victory, compared to what we see, like that Hamas still has capabilities. There's still, soldiers are still dying in Gaza. And he said that it's not a typical military defeat in that sense. It's a destruction of assets. And he also said that the high grade militaries are sometimes easier to defeat than a guerrilla military, because you're aiming for the assets, rather than finding the people in the crowd. So it's just very fascinating. So it does explain some of what's happening now. If you do get on board with that, with that thinking. But I think it remains to be seen. And also, I hearken back to my interview with Marzieh Amirzadeh, who pointed out that some of Iran's biggest assets are their military. That's their soldiers or operatives who are overseas, who are outside the country, who are looking to kidnap or kill dissidents, or also conducting terror attacks on behalf of the regime, but like against Israeli targets overseas, or Jewish targets, or their own dissidents. So anyway, so there's, a lot of concern and question I have about that. So all of this remains to be known. In the meantime, we're still looking at whether or not, there was another military leader who was already taken out. Like, he was just a couple days in the new position, taken out. And now the talk is whether or not they go after the Ayatollah. So anyway, that is the whole Iran, Israel side. What about the U.S.? Is the U.S. going to get involved? And when? So the person that I was on the show with last night, who is Egyptian, he said that, Israel can't do this without the U.S. And so, Israel has been asking the U.S. for military assistance. And what they would need is to finish out some of the underground sites that exist, such as like whether nuclear plants or military storage facilities and stuff like that. So anyway, those are that's part of it. So so then to wake up to all of this, after I heard him say this last night, to wake up to all of this from Trump, that just him leaving the G7 and making these very, very strong statements that I just read to you at the beginning. Is it another ruse, or are we on the cusp of a more regional type war? I did also read in the beginning of the day that there was more military equipment being moved to the area. I don't know. So anyway, that's all of that. Now, let's just end this on a more human note. And by the way, hi to Laura and Jeanette and Paula. Great to see you guys. I just wanted to acknowledge that you said hello there. So today, one of the things I did was I went to the organization Shalva, which is SHALVA. It's an organization that does all sorts of programs for children and young adults with special needs. And I met with the founder and president, Coleman Samuels. Now, one of the reasons I thought it was a very significant story today is because today was going to be the big concert. Oh, I think I have the invitations right here. The annual event called Festi Shalva, which would have been the Festival Shalva, which is the annual events. Here was our invitation where the kids of Shalva in the afternoon program all go on stage, and they have worked so hard on their songs and the choreography, and they get to go on stage and their parents get to see them perform. Now imagine if you have a child with special needs, you will understand that your kid probably doesn't make it to the stage independently, may not be able to do after school activities without assistance, which means maybe not at all. But Shalva provides them with the platform and the stage to do these things. And tonight was going to be the performance. Instead, Shalva has been closed down and empty since Friday when this all started. So I had a great interview with Coleman. It just talked about the disappointment, the challenges now that for these kids because they're home, and the challenges for them, the challenges for their families, and and just the hope that they will be able to get back out again. That we don't know how long this situation is going to last, and until there's an all clear, the organizations such as that will remain closed. Now, in the webinar tonight, before the one guest left, who the military guest that I wanted to ask a little bit more, I said, no, I just have one more question before you jump off the call. I want to know, in your estimation, are my kids going to go back to school this year, or is that it? It's over. And June 30th is probably June 30th and no, only June 30th is the only sure date on the Israeli calendar. Everything else is subject to lockdowns, wars, strikes, viruses, God knows. But June 30th, is the last day of school. I don't even want to say September 1st is the first day of school, because there pretty much, if there won't be a lockdown, there'll be a strike. If there won't be a strike, there'll be a war. And he just was like, I don't know, but don't expect so. So it's like, okay, great. Everybody prepare yourselves. My poor kids, my daughter is supposed to graduate from from grammar school this year. There will probably be no graduation. So anyway, that was the very brief update for today. I'm sure there's a lot more exciting stuff that I missed, and I may even know it somewhere back in the crevasses of my brain, but I probably need to go to sleep. So anyway, thank you for joining, and check back, because there will probably be more news tomorrow. I mean, as is ever the case. Anyway, thank you. Have a good night.